All right, welcome back. So to solve this problem of duplication, you can see that I've created this parameter, and once I click on it, it's on question 2 and it's still repeating the question. So how do we solve this problem? So what I would do is to edit that calculated filter and or calculated field, and I will change this from serial number because serial number uniquely identifies each of the questions. So its serial number is 1 to 20, but I'll reverse this back to question ID. Question ID is a repetition. This is 1122 in that way, and you do not need to keep repeating each of the questions. So when it's on 2, you have this 2 in there rather than the serial number. Now that we've achieved that, I expect this to display all the answers for each of the questions. So for example, if I put in that same filter here, I expect it to show me, let's put it to true, and this, and to show me the 2 wrong answers, or 1 right and 1 wrong answer. So all the answers attached to this question should be shown in here, but it's just showing me one of the questions from what I've seen. And I guess that's maybe the problem that is related to the checklist. Now let's go back to the formula for our checklist. You will realize that the checklist, I've been able to change this from question ID or question description that was there before to answers, to show us answers right after a question. But I have to go into the parameter itself, and I need to change the parameter we use for that's the question string we use for our highlights. So let's just edit it because that's what I have in there. So I have the parameter here showing as question string, which is correct. But let's go to the highlights calculation, calculated field, and let's see what's in there. You can see that I say I have description there. So this is what is attaching my question rather than my answer. So changing the caption doesn't stop at changing the caption to from questions to answer, but you need to change it from what is attaching to the string as well. So I'm going to change this to answer, and I expect it to attach my answer, okay, in the formula. So this is what the parameter should be appending into itself. Apply and okay. So I should have 1 to 20 questions or 1 to 20 answers once I click in there. So let's see if this was a problem. This is quite big. I'll reduce the size. Okay, now for the first one, I'll reduce the size. Okay, fine. So let's see what happens once I click on. So it should have pinned my answer. Let's see how that plays out in our formula. So let's just put the question filter now into this one and say true. I expect it to show us. So basically it still has just one answer for each of the questions. So let's go to question 3. It's just showing the first answer in there. So I expect it to caption this one, and let's go back to our select should also be appending. Okay, let's see what we have here. Let's change this to answer, apply, and okay. So once we click on this one, okay, let's go back. It appends this answer into our formula. Cool. So what we've just done doesn't solve the problem of we having all the answers in there. So again, when I put in the question filters, it just gave me one single question. So all we did was just make sure that this is working well with the answer caption rather than a question caption. However, you remember this is what we have in our roles. We have description, and description is related to the questions. And don't forget, while we were in this working on this structure, we need this description in the rows to make sure that it's all spread out, so it has a critical importance in making sure that it aligns horizontally or vertically. So the rows and columns work hand in hand. So we're going to yank off the description and put in our answers in there. So that's the major problem. So yeah, answer will go into rows, and we should have all spread out now, and the filter is working fine as well. So we have the two answers displayed for our question. So this um let's just close this one because it's also working with it as our dashboard. So now we've been able to solve the problem of duplication in our questions, so which once we switch the parameter to the next question, it shows the next question appropriately, and we expect to have our two answers displayed. So again, this is what we're going to be showing to the user, and then we're going to be selecting either this one or the other one. Again, don't forget that the dashboard action works on our dashboard, not on the sheet. And if it shows us Excel, it's going to take to Excel or whatever. And when you uncheck this, it goes off and we're good to go. So again, I want you to show me green or red if it's a right or correct answer, and again that will show on this particular on a different sheet, which will be like a report. So I'm going to duplicate this dashboard into two. I will duplicate this, or I can duplicate the sheets rather. So I'll duplicate the sheet, and I do not want, let's duplicate the dashboard first. And on this dashboard view, I do not want it to be filtered, okay? I want it to only affect that sheet. So let's come in here and duplicate the sheet as well. And you will see the usefulness of this one. So this field unfiltered, this will be the unfiltered view of my checklist. And I'm going to yank off this filter. I just want it to, whatever I select on this one should also be replicated on the sheet. That's my motive. Let's see if that's going to work. And I will check on my unfiltered. It isn't. Okay, it did work because it's still working with the same parameters and stuff. So this particular one is to show records of everything that the user has selected in the list of all the answers. So this is unfiltered view, and this is the filtered view, which will be presented to my user. So it's responding the same way because I have my parameter all the same. And I'll make this my report card when the quiz finalizes. So I'll make the duplicated report dashboard the report dashboard. Okay, so let's just rename this to report dashboard, and there we have it. So I'm going to yank off this sheet on it, and I'm going to put the unfiltered view of my checklist in it, which is this one unfiltered. And so anything that is selected, it's where you have it. So I have two sheets working the same way. One is unfiltered and one is filtered. So basically, this is what the user will see, and the selection will be made, and also the questions also will be there. So we're going to be putting this on a dashboard. So we'll create a quiz dashboard. Let me bring the question here. All right, so we should create a quiz dashboard. Let me duplicate this rather than creating a new one, and I'm going to yank off this one. So I'll put in my question sheet, question for the quiz, and at the top. So this will be the question, okay, where the user will say, oh, I want this. I can actually centralize this text to make it um, more presentable. Cool. So I'll make this my, let me rename this one my quiz dashboard. Awesome. So it's renamed, and I'm going to put my filtered answer, my filtered field, which will be the answer. So I can rename this one to say answer, select answer. So you can customize it the way you want as you wish, but this is just a fast way of just quickly creating a simple quiz. Select your answer. Okay. And you say okay. And so that gives the direction for, I can make it centralized too. So just select your answer. Just ignore this error. And you can just rename this to say your question. All right. You can modify as you want. Okay. Your question. So you can also make this central and apply. Okay. So this is your question here, and you select your answer. So if I select an answer and I do not need to make this one red or blue or green or whatever, but I can tweak the unfiltered view on my report to have the green color or the red color, because they should know which is wrong and which is right. So we go back to our dashboard view. So whatever they select will be shown if it's red or green or whatever, and it does not matter if it's a boy, which it will be tied to, the color will be tied to either is correct or wrong, but it doesn't affect their selection. So once they tick it, it ticks. So that will be the next order we need to cross. So now to solve the problem of changing the color based on the correct answer, so I will focus on our reports checklist, which has the unfiltered view. So this unfiltered view is what I'll be changing the color, not the filtered view. The filtered view can stay as is because it's just a selection, right? And it's based on our calculated field. Once you select an answer, it just changes. So, but basically, we need to change the unfiltered view based on if it's correct or wrong, and this will be like green or red, just to show them afterwards that what they've clicked on was actually red. It's not going to change or affect the tick button, but yes, so that's what we'll be doing. So let's just yank out the selects from the color, and we'll create a new calculated field for that. So the idea of the calculated field is to work with a parameter, and that's why we'll be changing our color. So what we'll be doing is to create a parameter that just has one as default, and we'll be comparing that parameter based on an identifier, and that's the reason why we have this identifier in there. So this identifier identifies correct and incorrect answers. So the correct answers have odd numbers, incorrect have even numbers. So I will be adding that one to the incorrect answer, and I will be having a modulo division on it. I'll say modulo 2. So if it has a remainder, which is for the wrong one, it will definitely be red. And if it doesn't have a remainder after adding, it will be green. So the reason why we have that color or this parameter change, apparently we do not necessarily need a parameter. Sincerely, we do not need a parameter because we can just perform that modulo on that one, and it just give us red or green based on what has been ticked. So let's just work without a parameter. Let's quickly just create a calculated field on the unfiltered view and see how that works. So because the user will not be privy to this, so yes, the parameter does not need to change based on what is being clicked. So yeah, we'll leave this color as is there, but we'll give this one the color. So let's just create a calculated field in here, and just perform that modulo, the modular division on it. So I will say color for answers. It's not the best answer colors. Let's just say answer colors. It's not the best names, but just that they're just spontaneous. So what I would do now is to say my identifier, and so I will divide it. So we'll be using the percentage division by 2. So remember, incorrect, the correct is odd numbers. So I will use a conditional statement. So if this is equal to a 0, then red, else green. Can use any string to categorize it. It doesn't matter, but it's just that if you put red and green, you know what color to look out for. Then it's capitalized well. So I will just quote it as well and put an end in the if statement. And there we have it. So we should have this. Okay. Now answer colors will now be what we have in our color in this, not in the question one. So let's just put this in there, and you can see that it has highlighted both all the right answers. Let's just be sure that this is correct. So odd numbers will have this. So let's just quickly check what the color coding is. You can see why you have to have descriptive names, so you know what to switch into. And this is red. So apply and okay. And yes, so you can see that this was ticked as the right answer because that was what was selected. So whatever you do on this view reflects on this view as well, because we still have the parameter working with it. It's just that it doesn't work with the color. We have a different parameter working with the color, or calculated field working with the color. So for example, if by adventure this was checked, let's just take this on the dashboard. If by adventure this was ticked and we go to our filtered view, unfiltered view, sorry, you will see that it selected the red one, which is the wrong answer. So we can decide to tweak this as well to say wrong, and that was selected, but it's just to show that this was selected by the user, but it was a red color, which was incorrect. Okay, so we can toggle this as well based on the color. Let's just decide to toggle this as well on this. Let's look at the shape, if that's gonna make a bit of sense. So we can just decide to, if it is wrong, then it's going to change to this. If it is right, it's going to change to this as well. Let's try it. If it doesn't work, then we'll put it back. And there we have our answer color in shape. Okay, let's see if it's gonna work. Okay, so let's see whatever was selected. So this was selected, right? And let's assume this was selected instead. Okay, on our dashboard, and we'll see our unfiltered view. So it is not affecting it the way it should. So we can decide to reverse that. We will reverse it and leave the shape as is, but we can easily put right or wrong in there. So this shows selection, but we can put it as a wrong answer in there. And there we have it. So we can decide to put this as is, okay, as wrong. But basically that's the idea of your quiz board, and this is what you would see in there. So when you want to see your report, you can swap. Let's remove this. We can swap to the report card, and let's just remove this one as well and put our parameter. The parameter is what we show the next question. And that will be the question number. Or possibly number of questions. Because I have multiple parameters in there, so number of questions is the right one. Number of questions. Make it floating. Then you can put that underneath. And the user has that experience of moving to the next questions. I'll just bring this in. It's refusing to track. Okay, so you can leave it as is here. So question 4, they go around and they select their answer. And at the end of the day, they see their report card and see the incorrect ones and the correct ones they've selected. So that's it about it, and I hope you've learned one or two things about checklists and creating a mini quiz game from what you have. You can tweak it and format your dashboard as you want, and there we have it. We have new answers, and you can do the selection as you want. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.